So we're left with just a few days to the theatrical release of The Little Mermaid, and I can't find the word to use to describe that feeling of having something you've waited for years to just be around the corner. It'll be a great experience. So in order to drum up hype for the film a little more, we're going to be looking at some behind the scenes fact that you may or may not have missed regarding the film. But before we get into all that, please make sure you hit that like button. It really helps out a lot. Subscribe if you've not already, and with that, let's dive into what we have for today's video. Now, many of you may not be aware of this fact unless you're a fan of Grownish, but during the filming of The Little Mermaid back in 2021, Harley also worked on some episodes for the 4th season of Grownish. Her character Sky was no longer a series regular by the end of the 3rd season so that she could film The Little Mermaid, but she still made guest appearances in 2 episodes in the 4th season. All her scenes were filmed, of course, in London, and you can see how she had her hair covered because back then her red hair was not for the world to see. So it was really cool to see that she was working for The Little Mermaid and in her free time perhaps also working on Grownish. That's hard work right there. The next fact, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, is that Harley almost broke her neck from the hair flip scene. She further explained this whole experience that her locks were heavier underwater, that whenever she did the hair flip, it pulled her so hard that it almost broke her neck. So to achieve perfection, the stunt crew had to be underwater with her and then throw her hair with her to reduce the weight so she could carry it out of the water.
This amazing stuntman named Dan, he helped me throw my hair with me so I could carry it out of the water.
That single shot alone took up to 20 takes before they got what they were looking for. It's really cool to see how much hard work they put into such little details just to give perfection. And we can all agree that the hair flip scene turned out pretty well. Next, the water scenes that you can see in the film are not completely CGI. To break this down, scenes that were deep under the sea were made with the help of CGI, where Harley and the other actors did all the work physically while the sea creatures were painted in later in post-production. But for scenes like the shipwreck or Harley swimming above the water, these were done in a water tank. And Harley described those periods to be quite hectic as some days she was completely in the water for filming. Can't imagine how hard it is suspending yourself in water, swimming all day. That takes a lot, but she was doing her job and she did it pretty well. And we can't talk about the water scenes without discussing her appearance in those scenes. Well, during the live stream on Instagram, she shared that most of the underwater scenes featured her with CGI tail, but when they got to Sardinia for the beach scenes, she had to wear a real tail. So it's really cool to see how the creators mixed CGI with realism, and the tail looks so great that you can hardly tell it apart. And talking about this just reminds me of old shows from the early 2000s about mermaids, where they were poorly done that when the actors had their tails underwater, you could see it detaching from them. It was so funny. So kudos to technology now for fixing this aspect of filming. And for the last fact which I'll be sharing today, Max for the live action remake is not generated from CGI. Jonah had to undergo dog training to actually film his scenes with a dog, and I'm pointing this out because most films these days use CGI to replace the use of real animals. We saw this with Aladdin, Pinocchio, and this doesn't always pan out well for the films. Like in Pinocchio, for instance, I don't know why they had to use CGI for the cat when they could use a real cat and all that, but at the end of the day, I'm just glad that The Little Mermaid decided to take this approach for the use of Max. So that is all for today's video. Which of these facts surprised you, or should I say impressed you the most? Share that down in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe. You can check out more of my videos on The Little Mermaid next weekend, guys. Next weekend we're going to experience this film. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.